Good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen, Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, on this fabulous Thursday for what is going to be nothing short of another jam-packed daily market update. And as always, we have a hell of a lot to get into. It seems like a lot of people out there are essentially saying that we're going to crash on Friday. Now, this, I assume, is on the back end of some of the disappointment that people may have had, or the markets may have had more broadly, with some of the other events that have taken place as it relates to the cryptocurrency space. But what people aren't really understanding is the undertone of all of this and just how magnificently and monumentally bullish this is for our industry. So we are going to look at some more revelations that have been revealed to us in regards to what's going to take place on Friday, which is tomorrow, the 7th of March. We're going to be looking at a list of potential attendees, or some confirmed, some not confirmed attendees, to the White House Crypto Summit. Then we're going to be actually playing a clip from Michael Saylor. It's very likely, and we heard from Howard Lutnick yesterday, who's a billionaire, he's a big Bitcoin guy as well, he's part of the government, that they were going to announce a reserve on Friday. Not just a Bitcoin reserve, but he said Bitcoin's likely going to have a special treatment, but more broadly a crypto reserve. And actually, even though I'm not the biggest fan of Michael Saylor, and I am a fan of him in the sense that I think he's done amazing things for MicroStrategy. He took a literal dead company, never recovered from 2000s or the 2000.com crash, and turned it into one of the best performing, or I think it might have even been the best performing stock within the S&P 500. And got it into the S&P 500 to begin with. So you've got to give him credit for that. But he actually, I think he's warmed to the altcoin sector, ironically. And I think, unfortunately, if you're a Bitcoin maxi or you're a kind of, I guess if you're a Bitcoin maxi, you've kind of had to be very contradictory and hypocritical, I think. You're kind of forced to do that because we're not following the original Satoshi vision. And actually, as these altcoins continue to get kind of recognized for what they're doing, you have no choice but to sort of bend the knee, if you will. And that seems like what Michael Saylor's doing. Also, there's been the announcement of the launch of a National Crypto Association, a non-profit organization dedicated to help Americans better understand crypto. I think Stuart Aldultry is the head of this. And then we've got Brad Garlinghouse, also a member of this. And then we'll look at a little bit of price action. As far as Bitcoin's concerned, it looks great. And actually, as far as the dollar's concerned, and we've looked at that scenario, it's really all just coming to fruition, guys. Stick to the plan. Don't bother with short-term price action. Focus on the bigger picture. Be an investor, not a trader, and you will make money in this industry, guys, because it has a lot of money to be made to offer. That's it as far as the introduction is concerned. Just before we dive into tomorrow, everybody calling for a crash. I'll take the opposite of that. I actually think this is a significant event. I don't think you're going to get that crash. I think when everybody's commenting in my comment section yesterday, we're going to get another dump on Friday. Okay. If you think that, that's fine. You know, maybe we do, maybe we don't. One thing I've learned in my sort of longevity in the markets is take things as they come. You know, be like water, as Bruce Lee said. But have that sort of bigger understanding of where this space is going and the bullish, very bullish undertones of all of this. And it will all make a lot more sense, and you won't be so sort of upset when price action doesn't do what you want it to do on one particular day. But this is Trump, crypto moves, White House summit, and major investment. President Trump's World Liberty Finance has made significant investments in cryptocurrencies, including 21.5 million in Ethereum, wrapped Bitcoin, and Move. Trump has invited Changpeng Zhao, the Binance CEO, or the ex-Binance CEO, to a White House crypto summit scheduled for this Friday, March the 7th, 2025, where discussions are expected to focus on cryptocurrency policies and its role in the U.S. economic strategy. The event will also feature other notable figures of the crypto industry. We're going to look at them in just a second, suggesting a strategic interest in integrating or discussing cryptocurrencies at a national policy level. And it's very interesting. The World Liberty Fi has just literally bought, in the past 6 hours, $10 million worth of Bitcoin and $10 million worth of Ethereum. And remember, you got the likes of Eric Trump, who I think has a lot more to do with World Liberty Fi, continuing to say buy the dip. In regards to the Crypto Summit, there's a lot of news in regards to who's actually going to be there. These are some of the lists. Obviously, you've got Donald Trump, Bo Hines, David Sachs, Brad Garlinghouse from Ripple, Michael Saylor from MicroStrategy, Paolo Ariono, got to be Italian, from Tether, Kyle Samani from Multicoin Capital. Obviously, Kathy Wood from ARK. We've interviewed the president of ARK, of course, Duncan Moyer. Then we've got Charles Hoskinson, who is the Cardano Foundation. I don't think he is the Cardano Foundation. I don't believe. Then we've got somebody from Anatoly from the Solana Foundation, Vitalik Buterin, obviously from Ethereum. We've got an individual from Ondo Finance, Nat. And then we've got Mark Andreessen from Andreessen Horowitz. These guys had their roots in Ripple very early when it was OpenCoin. Paul Atkins, the SEC chair, and Brian Armstrong, Coinbase, and Xiaopeng Zhao. There's a number of different lists floating around. So I'm not entirely sure who's going to be there. You know, we've got apparently individuals from Bitcoin Magazine going, CEO of Exodus. You know, this is another list. Sergey Nazarov from Chainlink. So, yeah, there's a few different lists. I don't know even where this list was circulated. Eleanor Trett is a great person to follow. She's from Fox Business. These are some of the people she's looking at, which is actually very different from the list we've just looked at. These are 10 industry folks I've confirmed are attending the White House Crypto Summit on Friday. We've got Robinhood CEO. We've got Kraken CEO. We've got, obviously, Michael Saylor, Brian Armstrong from Coinbase, Sergey Nazarov. We've got the Multicoin Capital, CEO of World LibertyFi, interesting, Zach Witkoff. And we've got Exodus Wallet CEO, CEO of Paradigm, and CEO of Bitcoin Magazine. So it's going to be very interesting to see who else is going, who actually turns up, what the whole thing is. So I think we should wait for the actual thing to take place and see what happens and who's there. I think these lists, okay, there's a good probability a lot of these people are going, but potentially not all, and potentially more, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see what happens. It's a bullish event, period. Howard Lutnick yesterday was very much saying that they're going to announce a crypto strategic reserve. Certainly a Bitcoin one, but more broadly a crypto one. He also said Bitcoin's likely going to get special treatment within that. What I want to do now is actually play a clip of Michael Saylor. So I'm not the biggest fan of Michael Saylor's perhaps philosophical views when it comes to this space. I think they're very warped. I think they're very hypocritical. I think they're very, very, very contradictory, etc., etc. But I do think he's an amazing businessman. He's proven the equation. It's factual, everything that he's done and out there. But it's very interesting because he seems to very much be warming up, just like Peter Schiff calling Bitcoin a better gold in some regards. Craziness. I mean, you kind of have to join them eventually, you know, in terms of they've had to join the opposition or what other people are saying because they've largely been right. But Michael Saylor's now sort of warming up to the idea of altcoins. Let's play this clip because he says some interesting things. And if we do get that Bitcoin strategic reserve and the US government buy what's proposed here, 1 million Bitcoin, and the US ETFs own eventually probably a few million Bitcoin by the time this is complete, America will own the majority of the Bitcoin supply. There'll be a need, I believe, to promote mining of Bitcoin to maintain the security of the network. And that's why actually I own mining companies more so than I actually own Bitcoin, because I think they're a leverage play. A few of them I've told you about that we've owned for a while, TerraWolf and Hut 8. I've got one that I kind of reserve for the Patreons. And of course, the only other really crypto stock I own, but we've been in it since sort of, for me personally, I think my average buy is about $70. Some of the Patreons got it at 40, 30 is of course Coinbase. But let's dive into what Michael Saylor has to say because it's very interesting. And then we'll continue the video. We'll look at the National Crypto Association. And then we'll finish it off with a little bit of price action. Really, for me, interestingly, is what the dollar's doing. Likely on the back end of what Scott Besson had to say yesterday in regards to interest rates and certainly oil and energy and things like this. Let's dive into this.
We'll have a seat at Friday's roundtable. Strategy co-founder and executive chair Michael Saylor is here. You should have the most prominent chair, the one with the armchair with the arms on it, because your company owns more Bitcoin than any other company. What, about 500,000 tokens?
Yeah, about 2.4% of the worldwide supply,
Okay.
500,000.
Let's just get your view, because everybody's dying to know about the summit and what they think is going to be announced. How do you think this crypto reserve will be financed?
Well, I think that there's a 6-month process that's been laid out by the executive order, and I think the president was fairly deliberate in that. There are 12 members on the Presidential Working Committee. There'll be involvement from the industry. There'll be involvement from the Senate and from the House, and it's above my pay grade to decide how it gets determined, But the Lummis bill has laid out the idea of acquiring Bitcoin strategically over 4 years, just consistently day by day, in order to reach a million Bitcoin target.
Okay, the government has 200,000 Bitcoin, as I understand it. We equal about 17 billion at today's prices. So to get up there, how they would have to purchase Bitcoin, right? So as the government purchases these Bitcoin and other tokens, what is that going to do to the price? I mean, supply goes down, the price goes up?
Well, the most responsible thing would be to go slow and steady and deliberate with clear telegraphing and transparency, so that the real key about Bitcoin is for people to understand that it's digital property. It's a savings account that empowers every single American to save their wealth and preserve it over time. And so what the government can do is to give clarity to the asset class and confidence to every American citizen, so they know they have an alternative to gambling and the stock market.
I know you said that it's above your pay grade to decide, but you are allowed an opinion. Do you think taxpayer money should be used to purchase these tokens and coins to fill the reserve?
Well, I think the way to think about the industry is there's digital commodities, that's Bitcoin, an asset without an issuer. There's digital currencies, like the stable coins. That's really important for US dollar supremacy and digital commerce. There are digital securities, like tokenized stocks and bonds, that will actually provide a capital efficiency and globalization for American securities. And then there are digital tokens, assets with issuers that provide digital utility that are very interesting and compelling. Their role is capital creation for the small and mid-sized companies that are blocked from the capital markets right now. I think that it's wise to capitalize a country or a company on a commodity, an asset without an issuer, something like a property. You could buy oil. Bitcoin is a commodity. I think that
XRP is attached to a company, Ripple.
I think that those are tokens, and we should have a regulatory framework to allow them to be issued, because
issued, but in the reserve? Should they be in the reserve?
I think the emerging consensus in the industry is that Bitcoin should be the element in a strategic reserve over the long term for the country. But if you wanted to support various investments in a sovereign wealth fund, that would be up to the executive branch.
Okay, so let's be clear. I'm hearing you say the reserve fund should really have the tested one, and that is Bitcoin, and not Solana or Cardano or Solana.
And the important thing to keep in mind is Bitcoin is the one universally agreed upon foundational asset in the entire crypto economy, because it's the asset without an issuer. It's neutral. 99% of the energy and the capital has flown into that one. But I want to be clear that the U.S. has the opportunity to be the leader in digital assets if they have a progressive framework that supports currencies, securities, and tokens as well.
Leave that there. I thought that was very interesting. I partly agree with some of what Michael Saylor says. I obviously partly don't. You know, and I want your guys' question. Do you think the US should be investing in these cryptocurrencies beyond perhaps Bitcoin? I have to admit, there's some grey with me. Because where do you draw the line? Then surely you should invest in technology companies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I guess also, or perhaps because of the global nature of these, there's a lot you got to think about. It's not black and white, I don't think. You know, there is a grey sort of area with all of this. And I do think it's very interesting. And I wanted to kind of play that clip of Michael Saylor. Let's talk about the National Cryptocurrency Association. Proud to announce the launch of the National Cryptocurrency Association, a non-profit, I won't play this because there'll be copyrighted music over it, a non-profit organization dedicated to helping Americans better understand crypto. Crypto is becoming mainstream, and the NCA is here to help people navigate the hype and confusion. We will offer education, guidance, and support, and shine a spotlight on the impact that crypto is bringing to real people across the country. To anyone and everyone who is using or holding crypto or want to learn more, visit NCA and meet some of the 55 million Americans benefiting from crypto in their daily lives. It was a really good ad, actually. It's sort of normal people that wanted to invest, wanted to create new businesses, et cetera, et cetera. This is from Brad Garlinghouse. Ripple is proud to support the National Cryptocurrency Association. You know, you got Stuart chiming in on this, et cetera, et cetera. So the world is moving towards crypto. We always knew this was going to happen. A lot of worry about Friday's events, I think. People are sort of expecting it to be a sort of rug event or a disappointment. My personal take is, I don't know if it's live. I'm not really sure. If it's live, that's amazing. And there'll be some gems there. If it's not and it's behind closed doors, you'll probably get a bit of a lackluster. I don't know, to be honest. I just wouldn't expect the price of the cryptocurrency market to sort of crash on the back end of it like it did the sort of Sunday Trump pump and dump in regards to announcing those certain cryptos. But all of them are largely still elevated. When it comes to Bitcoin, this is just technically beautiful. Guys, now is there's never been a better time to be involved in the crypto space. There's never been a better time to join the Patreon. And go and watch last night's Wednesday meeting. We do a kind of midweek Wednesday meeting where I give a short presentation instead of a longer one on Sunday. And then we just dive into any charts you guys want me to look at. But we are on a very clear trajectory that is technically and sort of fundamentally, but more broadly macroeconomically signaled. And things just look good. You know, this is just a pullback in what is a broader uptrend. You're supporting around that 30 weekly moving average. You're likely going to bounce off it and see that continuation into these higher price targets when it comes to Bitcoin. When it comes to the dollar, we looked at that kind of 2017 repeat, which saw assets do very well. The dollar's on that same trajectory, and the dollar made our sort of head and shoulders target, and is continuing to progress to the downside sort of brutally. I think on the back end of sort of what Scott Bessent had to say, where monetary policy is likely going, and also what's kind of going to be mandated. So when we look at the picture for the cryptocurrency space, despite market sentiment and the kind of doom and gloom and sort of fear that's propagated and pushed, my overarching opinion is that it really just isn't warranted in the slightest. And actually, there's an amazing time ahead as individuals that are interested in the cryptocurrency space. If you're an entrepreneur, you really want to leverage this technology to build the sort of future companies of tomorrow. That's really it from me, guys. We'll see what takes place on Friday. Of course, we'll be reporting on it all. If the summit is live, we'll be streaming it. If it's not, then we won't, of course, but we will report on it, obviously, pre and post. Hang in there. Great time ahead of us. That's it from me, guys. I'm going to love and leave you. Let me know what you thought about the list. I'll see you all in the next one.